hours and 23 minutes. 53 hours and 23 minutes. We will make it, people. We will make it. Keep pace. Keep rolling. Keep the same enthusiasm. Keep the same energy that you've had all freaking week. Don't let up one bit. Don't stop. This is an Excel train. We're not making stops. We're going straight through from one stop to the next. The last stop was Buffalo. This stop, we know what it is. It's the 49ers. Let's freaking go. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Friday. Tone DeShields, Rob Ellis, Sports Take. Tone, what's up?
Oh man, Rob, you have more energy than me right now. It's hilarious. I feel great. I feel good. Woke up this morning on the right side of the bed, had my breakfast, had my oatmeal with my honey and cinnamon, and I feel great, man. I can't complain not one bit. It's Football Friday. This is the last day we get to talk before D-Day.
Amen.
So, man, I'm super excited about this game. I've been really passionate all week about this matchup, right? Super duper passionate. And sometimes I get carried away, but that's just me. And the fact of the matter is this is going to be a hell of a football game. This is going to be the toughest game that the Philadelphia Eagles play all season, if you ask me. But again, man, we wouldn't have it in any other way. They're 10-1, so the odds are on our side.
Amen. Amen. Well said. All right, so we're going to break this thing down soup to nuts. And we got you. Fandalorian, Jim G, Guillermo, Tyler, Kevin, Philly, Brandon, Decoy, everybody, Jason, Eric. If I missed you, Tyler, sorry. I got you. Keep firing at. You want to tell us where you are? You want to give a little shout out to where you're going? Let us know, man. Let us know where you're at, where you're headed, what you're doing this weekend for the game. Crawley, what's up, man? Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It is going to be awesome. I can't wait. The hype is real, and let's do it. Let's do this thing. All right, so a couple updates. I don't love this, but we got to keep it real here. Fletcher Cox and Zach Cunningham did not practice yesterday. That generally doesn't bode well. It's not 100%, but it generally doesn't bode well. Jason's in Lansdale. I see you. Fandalorian's in Canada. I see you. Brotherly Tough is in Cherry Hill. I think there's no question that Cunningham's out, Tone. I don't know that it's 100% with Fletcher, but I'm not loving what I've seen that he hasn't practiced yet. That's a little concerning for me.
Yeah, it's definitely trending that way. I know they came off of a really, really intense game against the Bills. Those guys were on the field for about 93, 95 plays, if I'm not mistaken. Then prior to that, the Kansas City Chiefs game, they were on the field for about 73 or 76 plays. So these guys have essentially played about 2.5 games, potentially 3 games, contained in 2 games. You follow me from a snap count perspective. Yep. So these guys really needed the rest. The optimist in me says, well, maybe they just had Fletcher Cox just, had him in an incubator, just had him just relaxing the whole week. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or typically when you don't practice, you're not playing. So there's 1 or 2 ways we could look at this. If I had to really guess and put my money on it, Fletcher Cox, that kind of hand, those guys are not playing. So Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nicholas Morrow, Christian Ellis, Ben Van Sumeren. Yep. It's time to step up, man. This is the game of the year.
It's hold your breath too with those guys, but it is what it
Absolutely.
is. It is what it is. So yeah, they're all going to have to be big because you're dealing with the middle of the field with McCaffrey, with Kittle. It's not ideal, but hey, it's football. So we're not going to sit here and cry like the Niners fans cry. If you're missing players, that's football. That's the deal. So deal with it, plain and simple. Did you see this too? The game in 2 weeks to what was supposed to be 2 weeks from Monday has been flexed in Seattle to a Monday game. It was Monday 4:25. Now it's a Monday night game between the Birds and Seattle. I have kind of mixed feelings about this, Tone. Like I
hear a lot of people are pissed about that.
Yeah, like I'm not going to the game, obviously, so I come at it from a different angle. I want whatever the best game is. And I get where if you're ESPN, ABC, you much prefer an Eagle matchup over a Seahawk matchup. First and foremost, Eagles produce ratings, period. Like record-setting ratings, right? So I get that. Who was it? The Chiefs in New England, I think is what it was.
Yes. And that would have been terrible.
New England is pure garbage. So I get it. It's serving the purpose of better game to be seen. Get that. What I feel bad for are Eagles fans who are traveling out there halfway across more than halfway across the country, the other side of the country, to go to the game. Now they have to adjust all of their accommodations, hotel, flights, all that kind of stuff. That part of it's tough. I feel you may miss work, on Monday or Tuesday where you intended to get back, whatever. That part's tough for fans. I do feel for people because I've talked to a couple buddies who were like, dude, this just screwed me, man. I got X, Y, and Z, and now I have to miss this and do that. So I understand people are not happy.
Yeah. Again, you brought up a good point. The fact that you know people that it's affecting directly. I don't. So I do understand both sides of it nonetheless. There are people who make adjustments. There are people who plan for these things before the season even starts.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden things like that happen. But that's the name of the game, right? This isn't a foreign concept of the NFL flexing games.
Yeah.
So whenever you book a ticket for an away game, try to make sure it's maybe as close as possible. Make sure it's driving distance because those away games on the West Coast, if they flex that, man, it's almost like it's par for the course. It comes with the territory. Whenever you get to this part of the season, most of those games are going to start to get flexed, especially if the matchups that originally were on that date aren't good.
Yes.
And it's just, it's the risk you take. That's why, I mean, as exciting as it would be, I'm not pressed to go to an away game on the West Coast or on anyone's coast, really. I would love to go, I would much rather go to the away games that are closer to my area that are potentially driving distance or the flight isn't that long. It just provides me more flexibility, fly in that day, probably fly out that night, on the West Coast going to Seattle, good luck flying in that day and flying out that night. Good luck. I mean, it's the name of the game, man. I do feel bad, but again, this is what the NFL does. You gotta assume all risk when you go on excursions like that.
Yeah, especially late season. And again, I do get where people are upset, but you got to know that it's a possibility. That's all. Yeah. It's just there's a shot that happens. You especially have to know it when your team's good, that this could occur. So
definitely.
Anyway, I get it. I get both sides of this thing
for sure.
But anyway, so beyond that, a couple things to look at. I thought this was interesting. There's no word yet on Zach Ertz passing through waivers or if there's any interest, et cetera, et cetera. We don't know. The team I threw at you yesterday just to watch out for is the Ravens, and I still think that's the case. Right. I think the Ravens could be in play there.
Yeah, out of all the places that he could potentially go, because he's looking to sign with a contender, the Ravens make the most sense.
Yeah. Yeah, like we talked about yesterday, and no bad team is going to pick up $2.5 million through the waiver process. I think he actually clears waivers, Tone.
Yeah,
then it's going to be just wherever he wants to go. That's to just be my guess. But it was interesting. Purdy was talking about returning to Philadelphia, and it sounds weird to say he's not sentimental. You're usually sentimental about something that was good or a positive, about the good old days or whatever. This is not something you'd be sentimental about, but I guess it would to the extent that you got hurt, you came back from it, you didn't miss any time, and you're playing extremely well. But not surprisingly, he said basically, I'm not thinking about that, man. I got to worry about this team that's in front of me that I'm dealing with. So he played it unlike some of his teammates. I think he handled it pretty well.
I mean, he's the quarterback. He has to play it that way. He has no other option. He has to be the stabilizing force. In a locker room full of guys who are being emotional and petty. So, that's his responsibility as the quarterback. And he's trying to prove himself as the franchise, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to do that, when your hat's turned backwards in your meetings. Shout out to Colin Cowherd. But nonetheless, look, man, he's a human being. Everyone always remembers when and how they got hurt, whether you play a sport or not. If you had this injury and it was traumatic for you, 9 times out of 10, you're going to always remember how it happened, when it happened, and maybe who was responsible, right?
Yeah.
So he can play it cool all he wants. The fact of the matter is, he's coming back to Philadelphia, and they say lightning doesn't strike twice in the same spot, but that's how Hassan Reddick always does. Mm-hmm. So look, man, he's these guys, and then look, right? He can potentially be a victim of his own teammates' pride and hubris. So we'll see how this thing turns out, man. But again, Brock Purdy's having a really, really great season. Can't take that away from him at all. He's maximizing his opportunity with the 49ers, and he's doing the best he can to take advantage of the assets that are around him. Kyle Shanahan is putting him in optimal positions. I have a hard time believing he would be as successful in a Bryce Young type situation, or
Right.
if he was, or even if he was with the Steelers. I don't know. It's just certain situations where
It's a team with limited offensive.
yeah. He's and again, right. I know it sounds like I'm kind of undercutting the guy, and maybe I am, but I think I think I should be able to acknowledge his ability to maximize his situation, and also be able to acknowledge that he still has limitations. So, regardless, though, it's going to be a competitive game.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that both teams are going to give it everything they have. And this is not going to be a cakewalk for either side. Both teams are going to have to bring their A game.
No, I agree. The tough game. There's no question about that. I agree with you. I think, too, that what happens is sometimes when we call a guy a game manager, it's looked down upon by people. I don't personally. I don't think that. I mean, it tells me you play smart. You're doing the right things for your team to win.
That's a negative connotation, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't, though. It shouldn't.
Yeah. So, but anyway, again, if you're asking me if I had my druthers, do I want the Eagles quarterback or do I want him? I want the Eagles quarterback.
Right. I want a guy that can operate in the confines of the offense, and also if things break down, can he make the play? Can he win the game?
Absolutely.
Right. If I'm down 10, in the third or in the fourth quarter, can he find a way to will me back? Can he lead these guys back to the to the winning side of things? Jalen Hurts has proven that on more than one occasion. We have yet to see Brock Purdy in a comeback situation. We haven't. A lot of situations he's been placed in have been pretty manicured and contained, and he plays with the lead a lot. So there are just certain things, in my opinion, that are qualifiers for me to consider you a top tier quarterback, and he hasn't checked all those boxes for me yet.
All right. Update from 1 minute ago with Nick Sirianni meeting with the media. When asked about Lane Johnson playing Sunday, Nick Sirianni said, "We'll see." He was a full participant in practice yesterday. So again, my thought process is he'll play. Says Dallas Goedert is doing well. Also won't say if he's playing without practicing this week. So again, the guess here is no Goddard. The guess here is absolutely Lane, barring any setbacks. And I think right now Fletcher, I'll see. I'll update you if he says anything on Fletcher. But that's kind of
it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny, like the Lane part. Because Nick Sirianni always says, "Yeah, we'll see," right?
Yeah.
That's the one where I actually believe him on Lane, because he was good to go for the game prior to, and all of a sudden, the day of, an hour or two before the game.
Yeah.
So literally with Lane, when he says,
but it had to be bad, by the way, if he didn't try. That dude is nails, man. When it comes to anything. But you're right.
Right. Because typically they always say we'll see as like the the brush you off comment.
That's like
coach
get away,
speak,
fly,
right?
shoot, fly.
Coach speak. But when it comes to Lane, we definitely will have to see. So
no question. All right, I want to hit you out of the chute early. And by the way, Coach Marcus is right. I thought Driscoll did a nice job.
He did.
I thought he did a nice job. He gave up a pressure early and nothing after that. Props to him. He did it. Thrown in there at the last second. Nice work out of him. He said he found out around 1 o'clock, 1:30 that he'd be starting for a 4 o'clock game. So not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the Eagles question for you and for everybody in the chat, Tone. Who will be the best player on the field Sunday? So let's think about it. This is for both teams. You could let's go Eagles. Hurts. You could certainly throw AJ Brown in there. If you wanted to go offensive lineman, you could go Kelsey or Lane Johnson. Devontae Smith's been excellent. But then you go to the other side. You got Christian McCaffrey. You have Brandon Ayuk, who's having a hell of a year. You have Nick Bosa. You have Fred Warner, who's arguably the best linebacker in the game. Trent Williams, who's still getting it done at 35 at left tackle. There's a lot of choices in this game. So for you, who would it be?
Yeah. If I had the first person that comes to mind on the Eagle side, Hassan Reddick.
Okay.
I believe Hassan Reddick is very motivated to go in this game, guns a blazing. Not that he needs any more motivation, but Hassan Reddick has kind of been the topic of the conversations because of he was the one that wrecked that game. And that's the kind of guy you want in your defense, right? You want a guy that can wreck a game for the opposing offense, right? You know, that's why it kind of blows my mind when people when 49ers fans particularly pretend like they're owed something or deserve something. No, there are guys on the defensive side of the ball who get paid to wreck games. And that was the quintessential addition of someone wrecking the game. I think Hassan Reddick is going to come out there guns a-blazing. I think he's going to abuse Brock Purdy, if I'm being honest. He has the better matchup against their right tackle versus Josh Sweat against Trent Williams on the left side. So I think Hassan Reddick has the better matchup. Also, on the offensive side, I got to go Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is going to play one of his best games of the year. Jalen Hurts tends to up his game, especially based on the people he plays. He always attempts to play well. That's not implying that he lowers his standards, but he's a highly self-aware player. So he's always going to make sure that, you know, when it comes to certain opponents, he's going to bring his A game regardless. And then on the San Fran side, I got to go CMC. Christian McCaffrey is the linchpin for that offense. I think CMC is the engine on that offense. They don't operate the same. When they traded for him, he took their offense to an unprecedented level. So I think CMC is going to be the best player on the field for the 49ers on the offensive side. Defensively, I'm going to go with Fred Warner, man. Fred Warner is a tremendous talent. Wasn't a first-round pick at all. Completely just shattered expectations in his career. He's the best linebacker in the NFL. They go as he goes. So I just think Fred Warner is primed for a big game. What about you, though, Rob?
All right, let me tell you who has to be the best player on the field. I'll start with the Eagles. On the offensive side of the ball, without question, it's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has to be great in this game. He has to be brilliant.
Has to be spectacular.
Yeah, he has to be brilliant, right? It has to look like the second half has looked the last couple of games for a full game.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the other side of the ball, I completely concur with you. Hassan Reddick has to be that wrecking ball. He's got to be that guy who heads are on swivels, who you can't believe, man, this is the signature Hassan Reddick game of 2023. It has to be that game for him, because if you're letting Purdy get time, he's going to hurt the Eagles. I mean, we could sit here and kid ourselves all we want. If Purdy has time, they're going to have success against this Eagles secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So Hassan Reddick has got to be nasty. So I'm going to go Hurts and Reddick. If I'm going to the other side of the ball, I'll tell you, it's McCaffrey all day offensively for them. And on the other side of the ball, I concur with you. I think it's Fred Warner. Warner.
We did not preconceive these.
No, we didn't talk. I purposely. There's certain things we go over. I want to get your reaction without knowing what it is. I don't. Before the show. But I think Fred Warner gets lost in the wash sometimes with Bosa and some of the other names that they have on that side of the ball, where this guy just he's got 95 tackles, or I was looking at his numbers for a segment we have coming up. Yeah, 95 tackles, and he doesn't get as much love as he should. But anyway, I think both of those guys, for them, if you can contain McCaffrey and he doesn't go, like if he has like 75 total yards, I think the Eagles win the game. Like
Agreed.
That's one of those telltale stats for me. If he's contained, I think they're going to be fine. I really do, man.
I agree because I'll be honest, man. I don't mean no disrespect, but I don't think Deebo Samuel is a top 5 wide receiver in this league. I don't, man.
In fact, I think he's overrated.
He's a weapon. You know what I mean? He's a weapon for sure. You can use him in the run game, pass game, but I don't think he's a better wide receiver than AJ Brown. I don't think he's a better. I honestly don't even think he's a better pure wide receiver than Brandon Ayuk. You know what I mean?
Ayuk's better.
Ayuk is a better receiver. Period.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's just our opinion. They've CMC again. He takes them over the top. His versatility and his ability to do both things, running and receiving, at such a high level, is such a tough cover. He's elusive. He runs with power. His vision is tremendous. Patience on a whole nother level. He can block as well. So, man, you find a way to contain CMC. You find a way to limit him from hurting you.
Yeah.
You force those other guys because this is what happens, right?
Yep.
They get CMC involved early because they want it, because it sets everything else up. You stop CMC and you force Brock Purdy to just beat you straight up.
Yep.
Yeah, he can be had.
Yep.
He can be had.
Yeah, I agree. I think just to go back to Debo for a minute. It's not that he can't turn something or nothing into something. He can.
He's dangerous for sure.
He's very much like AJ in the sense that you get him a slant 5 yards and he can go 55 yards because he's so strong and that kind of thing. But he's not that guy in terms of being a dominant receiver. Ayuk's better. AJ's better. I would take Devontae Smith, to tell you the truth. I would take any of those guys over him.
Yeah. I think CeeDee Lamb is a better receiver than him.
I do too. To me, he's not the guy you have to key on. I think you key on offensively McCaffrey. I think you key on the other side of the ball. You just not, and they did a good job on Bosa last year. Yeah. They did. Lost in all the other stuff with Purdy getting knocked out was Bosa didn't kill the Eagles at all in that game.
Here's the thing, right? The two guys, in my opinion, when it comes to the Niners, there's only two guys I truly, truly worry about, regardless of who's playing against them. There's only two guys. Whenever I watch the 49ers, there's two guys I pay attention to, no matter what. It's CMC and George Kittle.
Yeah.
Those two guys are the mismatch nightmares on the field. See, I don't just pay attention to guys who are talented. I pay attention to mismatch nightmares. Who's the toughest cover, regardless of who you put on them? Who can win the most matchups? And George Kittle and CMC are those guys for me in their offense. George Kittle, he's too big for safeties. He's too quick and shifty for linebackers. Slot corners, good luck. You know what I mean? He can block his ass off. CMC, same thing, man. Too elusive for linebackers. He's stronger than he's stronger than most safeties and corners, and those are in my opinion, those two guys are the mismatch nightmares. And when you have the less answers you have for a guy, the harder your day is going to be. So Ayuk, Debo, they can do whatever they want. I'm paying attention to those two guys because they're going to be able to hurt the Philadelphia Eagles in particular the most.
I agree. And I think that obviously this is taking nothing away from this team. We know how good this team is that they're going to be playing, but there's certain guys that you key on, and if the other guys beat you or hurt you a little bit, okay, fine. I mean, you're to think that if Purdy stays healthy, you're going to completely shut this team down. I think you're kidding yourself. You're going to have to show up. And the biggest thing for me, Eagles, even if you forget matchups for a minute, and we are going to get into some key matchups in the next segment, but you forget about it for a minute. Got to start faster, man.
Got to start faster.
Come out the same way you've come out the last couple of weeks. Think about it. You beat Kansas City on the road, Tone, without showing up in the first half. You beat Buffalo, who was desperate as hell at your place, without showing up in the first half. Don't push it for a third week, because I'm telling you, it'll bite them this week.
Don't push it. They're getting closer and closer to the edge. Yeah. Remember, they came out of halftime down by 10 against the Chiefs. They came into that fourth quarter, the fourth quarter, down 10 to the Bills.
Yep.
What happens next, Rob? The game ends after that.
Yeah, exactly right.
So are you going to lose by 10? You follow me? So you don't
need your kicker to drop a 59-yarder in a swamp to get you overtime. Don't keep playing that game.
Want to start slow. And again, I think the Philadelphia Eagles win the game. Do not get me misconstrued, Eagles fans. I think the Eagles win this game, but this isn't one of those games where they can afford to start slow and they can just all of a sudden just turn it on whenever they want. This is a game where you want to start off strong and you want to end strong, flat out, because the 49ers are going to push you for all four quarters. Now, we'll say this, though. The 49ers, they better be careful, because if they allow this to be a fourth quarter game, if they allow the Eagles to be within 3 points or within 7 or within a touchdown in that fourth quarter, buckle up, because Jalen Hurts is coming. He's coming. I mean that.
I agree.
He at this point, he's shown you 2 weeks in a row. Do not give him light.
Yep.
Do not let air come through the cracks, because that breeze is chilling.
Yeah. I got you. That breeze will be a tornado before you know it.
Exactly.
All right, so let's hit it. Let's come back and we're going to dive into the keys here. A couple of we just hit on a few, but there's a lot more that we can get into here. Some numbers that might reveal some things for this game too. And we'll get into the Niners and exactly what they bring to the table as well. We're gonna cover this thing head to toe, like I said earlier. We're gonna get you ready for this game, and we want to get your predictions as well throughout the course of the show. Tone and I will give ours. before we get out of here. We'll give our storylines like we always do. We're going to go through the best games of Week 13 in the NFL. We'll certainly tackle last night's game with the Cowboys beating the Seahawks. No punts in the game, Tone. Not a punt to be seen last night in that game. And if you liked flags, if you like referees, you loved last night. You love seeing Clete Blakeman and the rest of those guys.
I love zebras.
Oh, I can't get enough. Everybody, watches and goes to games to see officials. It was great. All right, so we'll do all of that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. That's Tone. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. It's Friday. I will be making my visit in a little bit after the show today. But I've been going there since I was a kid, Bravo Pizza of Havertown. They've been family owned since 1985. Alex and his great crew are in there each and every day, providing the most fresh food that you could possibly have with the absolute unequivocal most options for you. They have 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go, specialized pizza your way. But as I mentioned, they don't just do pizza. They have fresh pasta. They have sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads, you name it. Bravo Pizza of Havertown is also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charity, schools, little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You could follow them at the Bravo Pizza of on Instagram and Facebook. They're located at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center, Havertown, 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center, Havertown. Give them a call right now, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We're big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.